I'm still mad about Oklahoma. Not the state I was born in, and not the 1943 musical, nor the 1955 film adaptation. No, I'm still mad about the 2019 Broadway revival of Oklahoma by Daniel Fish. I was promised a 21st century rethinking of this old school musical based on a 90-year-old play, and what I got, well, was less than impressive. First off, if you've seen a standard production of Oklahoma or even the old Hollywood film, you know that it's essentially a musical about women being put up for auction, sold to high bidders for dates. Then there are these two men, Judd and Curly, who fight over the love of Lori. Also, there's a land rush. In fact, the title track of Oklahoma happens late in the show, and it's essentially a celebration of the theft of native lands. The 1889 land rush is when the U.S. opened up Indian territory for claiming by land prospectors. Or at the time they were called boomers. Many of these boomers jumped the gun and squatted on land early. These people were called Sooners. So the University of Oklahoma mascot is the Sooners, which is a tribute to those people who stole stolen land. Anyway, if you watch the 1955 film, you will find a lot that, as they say, doesn't hold up. So naturally, I was intrigued by the idea of a 2019 contemporary remake. So naturally, I was intrigued by a 2019 contemporary remake of this show. How would they handle the genocide of indigenous people? How would they handle the sexism? How would they handle the toxic masculinity? Would this show have anything to say about race or economic status? First off, Daniel Fish's adaptation suggests that Curly and Judd aren't really mad at each other so much as gay for each other. That's original. Also, the theft of the Indian territory was not acknowledged in any significant way. A black woman was cast as Lori, but race was never otherwise addressed, and nothing was really said about the core premise of women being auctioned for dates. And listen, that's fine. The original doesn't do any of this either, but you know what the original version of Oklahoma did have? It had incredible music, a lush Broadway score. Every track is a banger if you're into classic Broadway. And most importantly, Oklahoma had a motherfucking dream ballet. You know what the 2019 adaptation did? It scaled back the orchestra to essentially a Mumford and Sons cover band where every song was sung with all the vivacity of Stephen Merritt getting caught in the rain without an umbrella. It sucked. And the Dream Ballet, it was a single dancer wearing a t-shirt that said "Dream Baby Dream," like it was artwork from a Home Goods. And that dancer, as talented as she was, did the most Juilliard level run around the stage in circles for 10 minutes shit I've ever seen. God, it was such a letdown. Oklahoma is an 80-year-old musical. It would be very difficult to fully modernize it, but don't promise to deconstruct its politics if you're only stripping down its beauty. For real, fuck that show. Okay, rant done. All the wounds are healing because I watched the 1964 Roger Corman adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Masque of the Red Death, starring Vincent Price and a gorgeous 60s set and masterfully cheesy costumes and dialogue. Holy cow, it's so dated and so rich. I really loved this movie. I loved it for many reasons, but you know what really pushed it over the top? The goddamn Dream Ballet. Why are we unable to do this anymore? Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What's the first musical you fell in love with that you're like, oh shit, I love musicals?
Oh man, it might have actually been Oklahoma. Now
Mm-hmm.
that I think about it. Who was the guy who played Radar on MASH? Like
Is that
the guy who's
Jamie Farr?
yeah, he was in a
No,
touring production of
or Alan
Oklahoma.
Alda.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. Somebody from MASH was in Oklahoma in the 80s.
Okay.
This is a terrible story. No, I think it was Oklahoma. That was like my first like, wow, this is really amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think for me, I think I've said it on the show before, it was Jesus Christ Superstar. Finding that
Mm-hmm.
album and listening to that, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I like rock music.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got back from tour as we're recording this. So our first night back, we watched The Masque of the Red Death, directed
Hail
by Roger
Satan.
Corman. Hail Satan. Yeah, it had a lot of. This was a great movie to come back home to be like, oh, I have to watch a movie for the show, a
Yeah.
quick turnaround to recording. And I'm so glad it was a cool 90-minute 60s feast for the eyes
Yes.
and at times ears as well. Um, did you see this movie before? Had you seen this?
I know I've seen this movie before.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. This
Yeah,
was
it's definitely fun. It's definitely of the sort of Roger Corman, Vincent Price, swinging 60s, bodice rippers.
Mhm.
It's definitely one of the best.
Yes.
Comes through in flying colors, actual flying colors.
Mhm. Oh, it is Technicolor barf all over the
Mm-hmm.
screen. It's
Oh yeah,
amazing.
yes.
It's so good. It's I'm starting to through this show sort of understand, even though I don't, this may be our first Roger Corman we've done for the show,
Mhm.
but sort of understanding that kind of like the king of cult, right? The this like
Yeah,
60s schlocky stuff that he was making. And
but also kind of like an anti Walt Disney.
totally.
Like everything kind of feels a little bit like it looks like Walt Disney, but for Satan.
Yes. It's stealing some of the techniques from art house movie making,
Yeah.
but doing it in a very pop way, which I find
Mhm.
really fun and easy to watch. Okay, well, let's start at the beginning. We have classic timpani bum ba da da ba
Oh
ba
yeah.
sort of music. And the animated tracks, both for the opening and closing credits, are sublime.
Oh yeah. Man, they were up. I think because I want to say this feels like the same timeline as what was it? Terror Train, Train to
Yes.
Terror Town, Terror Train to Tiny Town. The one that was also obsessed with the tarot cards as
Hmm.
super creepy witchy. I love the 60s, man. I really do wish I was British in the 60s.
They're so good. This movie uh, is much more compelling than Terror Train to Funky Town.
Yeah,
It's and some of it is the some of it is just the lush colorfulness of this
sure.
movie. It's just it is a feast for the eyes. But we start in a non-colorful space. It is foggy wastelands
Mm-hmm.
and an
Out
old,
on the moors.
yes, on the moors. We don't have moors in New York City, unfortunately.
No, I don't think we have moors in like North America.
I think you're right.
I think that is exclusively the Brits there.
Hmm. Although this is decidedly Italian,
Oh, sure, why not?
why not?
Okay, Prospero.
Yes, everybody's got an Italian name in
But
this
they're
movie.
also like it's very like, Olive Garden Italian. It's about as Italian as an Olive Garden here.
When you're
Alfredo,
when you're here,
Scarlatti.
when you're here, you're spooky.
When you're when you're here, you're worshiping Satan.
Hmm. So there's this cloaked figure in the foggy wastelands, and then there's a cloaked man in red, a red cloaked
Mhm.
man who
Yes.
says, "Grandmother, come closer."
Now, is this the voice of Christopher Lee? It sounds like Christopher Lee. Am I tripping?
I
But
don't
like
think you're tripping.
like as
That.
every time the masked red stranger spoke, I
Hmm.
was like, this sounds just like Christopher Lee. So either it's not Christopher Lee and they just like a similar voice, or Christopher Lee was just like, I don't know, was just hanging around one day.
Um. So the credits on Wikipedia say John Westbrook played the Red
Oh,
Death in voice and physical form, except for
okay.
obviously when we have the reveal that the face of Death
Oh,
is
yeah, yeah.
the person who sees Death.
Yes.
So that's all I
No,
know about that. But yeah,
incorrect,
it
Cecil. You
it
are, in fact, tripping. But it sounds very Christopher Lee, like this is my spooky voice
yeah.
kind of voice. It's like, come here, old woman.
He has a white rose in his hand and he waves his hand over it. Magic, and it turns blood red.
But like literally just like a filter just falls in front of the screen and it just
Hmm.
turns everything red.
Yes, yes. And he says,
Magic.
take this to your village and tell the people that their day of deliverance is at hand.
Well, that sounds nice.
That does
Like
sound nice.
like the day where we get to all play banjos on the front porch.
That's right. I think it's like Amazon day. It's like free delivery.
The day of Amazon deliverance is at hand between 3 and 5 p.m. Now go.
So now we have the village, and we hear like, make way for Prince Prospero.
Listen.
Uh-huh.
If you ever get an option to choose how your character enters, almost running over a baby with a carriage is a strong choice for the beginning of a character.
It's just any character that gets announced like that is great.
Yes. Yeah, anybody that gets announced. And then also, like, I love, listen, the costumes in this they're very, it's Satan Disney. As soon as Vincent Price appears in that fucking floppy hat, I like put my joint down and applauded. I'm not like literally like, I mean, his voice is so unique, and his face is so unique, and he has such a, I mean, like, devil may care attitude about this whole scenario that he is in, that it makes it fun. It makes it campy and fun.
Everything about his performance is fun because he's so evil, and there's always just a little twist to his smile.
Yeah.
He's smiling throughout, even when his face isn't smiling. He just looks like his character looks like he enjoys being evil. And yeah, I find it fun. The floppy hat is fantastic. It's such a great touch. The costumes throughout this are so 60s. All those women's silk scarves and like braids around.
Yes. Oh, I know. It's so Princess Maid Marian, but in like fuchsia and like pinks and turquoise, like all those colors that just were so hot back. Like this feels like it reminds me of looking through old cookbooks at like, you know, home and garden cookbook. Like, it's that sort of color palette.
Yes. It's basically going in cosplay as I Dream of Jeannie, but at the Ren Fair. Yeah.
Yep, exactly that.
So he says, I have come to thank you for this year's harvest. And well, I'll be taking this, thank you. Just very English to do, and to take all of your harvest for our big feast up in the castle. And of course, we'll throw you some scraps and you'll be grateful for it.
Yep. I mean, makes sense to me.
Sure, why not?
That's how feudalism works.
That's true. And we have these two villagers, which are only known to us as Dad. I think the man's name is Ludovico.
Yeah,
but it's Dad and Gino.
Gino.
Gino. Papa Gino.
Why, Gino? Why? I don't know why I keep doing that. It's so funny to me.
And Gino and Dad step forward, and Gino says, you know, there's a prophecy that came down that says we'll be free from your tyranny soon. And, you know, just keep that to yourself.
Yeah, sure. Keep that. Also, the prophecy said nothing about any kind of count. They just said the day of deliverance.
Yes.
The day of, it really could have been the day of Amazon deliverance.
It was wide open to interpretation.
Very wide open. Y'all are extrapolating pretty hard here.
And Prospero is just like, that's cool. Hey, garrot them.
Damn. And he's all like, what? Should I not, after I fed and pet my hounds, should I not discipline them? And I was like, should you not discipline them? I don't think you discipline your dogs by killing them.
No.
You're not going to have very many dogs left. You're like, I love you, sweetie. Dead. Oh, crap. I went too far with these.
Listen, capital punishment is not a form of discipline. That is just terminating what you see as a problem. And so he has a weird definition of discipline.
But he's so deliciously evil.
So now we meet Francesca.
Hey, Francesca.
And she is begging Prospero for mercy, because these two men, one is her father, and the other one is my father, and the other is the man that I love.
Oh man.
Oh, and he says, well,
Right,
that's
Sophie's
delightful.
choice.
I
What a
know.
choice, Sophie.
I'm like, stop giving evil man information.
I
Don't
know,
give
right?
evil man information.
Well, we don't. Well, clearly, I mean, how could she know
Yeah.
that Prince Prospero is, in fact, at the Marquis de Sade, trumped up in anti-Disney, like Disney trappings?
Mm-hmm. So he gives her the option of like, you can pick one and let the other live. And so like gives her that Sophie's choice. We
I
also
love
meet
it.
in the
I
scene
love it.
Alfredo. Alfredo. Who is
Alfredo. Oh my God, Alfredo's the best. And he's one of those character actors that, like, you've seen once you start watching movies of this era, like any of you start noticing him more and more and more and more
yeah.
in these, like, Trilogy of Terror, or like those kind of movies.
Yeah.
Because he's just got those intense murderer eyebrow eyes.
Yeah. He he was, this is Patrick McGee, who was a really noted stage actor. And one of the things I just pulled up that when I looked him up, because I had that same thought that you did when I was watching this movie. I'm like, I know him. I've seen him before.
Yeah.
But he was often referred to as Samuel Beckett's favorite actor.
Oh my God. Wow.
But yeah, he did a lot of Beckett plays, performed those in London. And he also originated the stage role of the Marquis de Sade in Marat Sade, in the play
Marat Sade. That's it.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think he is in the film version.
The Peter Brook film version.
With Glenda Jackson.
Yep.
So,
amazing.
Yeah. Anyways, he just pops his head over Prospero's shoulder to be like, wow, I never thought this would be so much fun.
Like, he's like, you promised entertainment, but I don't know. Watching a beautiful woman choose between two men, to kill, this is amazing. And this is just the appetizer.
So there's a scream, and Prospero goes to check out who's doing all the fucking screaming.
I love it. He's like, do I have to do everything myself? I'm like, listen, Alpha.
He does he does it with the urgency of like when you hear a dog barking in your apartment building all day and you're like, I'm gonna find out who the fuck owns this dog.
Yes, that's right.
And he goes to find the old woman from the beginning, and she is dying of the Red Death. Her face is all bloody, and I guess the Red Death is where blood just seeps out of your skin. Is that what we learn here?
That appears to be the precedent we're setting in this scene. It's like you just start sweating blood.
Oh.
It doesn't look pleasant.
No.
But it doesn't look unpleasant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it just looks like you took a bath in red food coloring.
It does.
And you have yet to towel off.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't look good.
No.
But it doesn't really look that bad either.
No.
But anyway, she is screaming for holy terror. Because apparently the red food coloring hurts. It burns it when it touches us.
So he now understands. Prospero now is like, oh shit. The Red Death is here. And so he
it's not a euphemism for my period.
No. And Francesca and her week of wonders. So he tells his soldiers, he's like, take these men to the prison, take this woman, Francesca, to my castle, and burn the rest of it down.
The village. Bold choice.
I never understood how I never understood how England lasted as long as it did, with all of its like absolute destruction of every colony it ever had. That it would strip I'm like, if you nurture the land and the people who work the land, you will have a lot of productivity. But if you keep burning every fucking thing down.
I'm hearing this nurturing thing. But also, what if we just destroy all their possessions and give them like stones to eat? I'm just saying.
Just like, who's left to grow the crops next year?
That's a very good question.
But
the question is, I have a question for you. Will there be a next year?
That's right. That's very true. So, well, and I guess from the point of view of Prospero, I think he does sort of know in his heart that Satan is coming.
Yeah.
And that he's going to, essentially, this is going to
Satan
be like,
is coming. Look busy.
yep. And that it's essentially like, this is the night that our Lord and Savior, Satan Christ, comes to like take all of our souls to high holy hell with us.
It's got to be close.
Yeah.
Like 12 days of Satan.
So at the castle, Francesca is cleaned up by the servant women.
Now, wait a minute.
Okay, yes.
Now, when you say cleaned up by the servant women, you mean she is thrown into a tub made of golden swans built into the floor. I just want to clarify this statement.
I didn't even notice.
No, you didn't?
No, I'm kidding.
Like, this set piece is, again, here's me putting the joint. I'm like taking the joint out of my mouth, just like slow clap. Slow clap to the sets, slow clap to the acting.
Yep. Oh my God. Yeah, I think if you played the drinking game of like take a drink every time you see a scene that isn't ornate and lush, you could be stone cold sober throughout this. Like every scene just every inch is filled with something gilded.
Yeah, something gilded. And like it's definitely got the feeling of like we have built these crazy sets. And we're gonna use them.
Yeah.
To the utmost. And I think and this is why, like, I think maybe this film versus even some of the other films that were made around the same time, it really did, they put a lot into the ornateness of the Masque, you know, versus other ones. It's a little more like, oh, Dracula's in a castle chasing after some girl with big boobs again, you know, daughter of Dracula, sons of daughters of Dracula kind of movies. But this one, it really does feel like they're like, no, we're going to bowl you over with the Playboy Mansion-ness of it all.
Yeah, yeah. So we also meet here Juliana, who is Prospero collects Christian women, I think is the game here.
Bit of a mystery. Juliana. I think
I took this as Juliana is the previous Francesca, somebody that he just pulled out of the groomed. Yeah. He even kind of says that later to Alfredo to be like, I'm guiding the innocent people.
Yes. I'm instructing.
Instructing, that's the word he uses. So there is like a grooming sort of thing that he does with these Christian women to convert them to Satanism and to, I mean, the movie doesn't explicitly state it, but it's also like for his collection of pretty girls.
Yes.
So Juliana is a little bit like, hey, did you have to like use my bathroom to wash the peasant up?
Yeah.
We also learn that Francesca's dad and lover Gino are being quartered in a warm and safe place.
I love that. Just like as in drawn and quartered. Oh, no. And it is in the dungeon.
Yes, which doesn't look warm, especially since she has to wear a fur cloak down there later to get into it. Okay, we also have kind of the central... So we're learning about this mansion, right? Or this manor, this giant castle. And like kind of in the main court, what do you call it? The central room of
courtyard.
The courtyard.
Sure.
There's a giant ticking clock, as described in the original short story, although this one, for its pendulum, is a swinging axe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pendulum double stuff Oreo there.
And we have kind of this lovely little poem about from Prospero to Alfredo being like, what do you know of terror? Listen to the clock tick. Is it just the movement of time, or is it the failing beat of your own heart? Perhaps it is someone who has stepped into the room behind you. It's very neighborhood haunted house level of spookiness.
You feel the tingling of the thriller. Like I really do expect like the theme music to Thriller to pop in whenever Vincent Price is speaking. I don't
Of
know.
course.
It's just one of those things, you know.
Well, it's time for entertainment. You know, a lot of times
party
for-
games.
a lot of times if I have an evening to myself and I want to entertain, you know, just entertain myself for the night, I will throw on an old movie, or
Sure.
sometimes I'll start a new TV series. Sometimes,
Yeah,
a
why
lot of
not?
times, I like sports. I like to turn on a basketball game, see what's happening. Prospero likes having dancers, Esmeralda and Hoptoad,
Yep.
come into dance. It's more Esmeralda comes into dance.
That's like, and we introduced the dancers, Esmeralda and Hoptoad. And it's like Esmeralda is a child
Mm-hmm.
whose voice has been dubbed with that of a woman, which is very confusing.
Boy, that threw me off late in the game when that comes about. Holy shit.
Like Lauren Bacall does the dubbing for this child.
It's so disturbing.
It's weird. But she's doing her little ballet, like, you know, pirouettes and pretty normal ballet sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then Hoptoad has got a kind of a cool looking dog.
Yeah, an Afghan hound.
Hoptoad is also a small person, you know, so, but he just sort of stands there.
Yeah.
Like, he really doesn't dance or do, he's more of a wrangler than a dancer.
He feels like the classic jester character.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
in any type of like kingdom sort of story. He gets his place later in this movie.
He gets his
like
moment later.
Yeah,
he's a little more, you know, Lannister than we think he is at first.
He's super devious. Yeah, he's great. So this is the line where like Alfredo leans over Prospero talking about this young girl dancer, saying like, wow, you love to corrupt the innocent. And he says, I'm not corrupting, I'm instructing.
That's right. It's like, also like Patrick McGee, Alfredo's like hubba over this like 12-year-old ballet girl doing absolutely nothing. It's gross. And it's like, Vincent Price is like, stop it, you. I know you and your penchant for child molesting.
Yeah. Alfredo is definitely played as just an absolute sleazebag.
Yeah.
You know, which is a different level than Prospero is not a sleazebag. He's a fucking evil man. But
he's a classy sleazebag. He's a classy sleazebag.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's more of an Epstein. And then, you know, Alfredo's just your like,
he's Jared from Subway.
That's it. Just on the street level.
Yeah.
Because listen, he also has a bit of a temper, because that little girl accidentally pirouettes a little too close to Prospero, and she toe shoes his wine over.
Yeah.
And man, Alfredo just like beats the shit out of her.
Yeah, he smacks her hard. Bam. Yeah.
And everybody's kind of like, oh, party foul times party foul.
This is the first of a handful of moments in this movie that I absolutely love, that I want to rewatch this film, but add one tiny bit to the soundtrack, which is the record scratch. This movie has three or four moments where something shocking happens and the room goes quiet.
Well, we've established this weird sort of like Prince Prospero is always talking, not to Juliana or to Francesca or to whoever he's talking to. He's kind of always talking to the room. Always.
Yeah.
So it is that sort of like people are having side conversations, like literally going like peas and carrots in the corner. But they're also kind of paying attention to what Prince Prospero is doing at all times and reacting to him. So it makes sense that, you know, if he beats up some 10-year-old in the middle as party entertainment, everybody's gonna be like, ooh, shit, do you see what just happened over there? Oh my god, Prince Prospero is going off.
Well, Prospero loves to use, he likes to be a sadist in, like, he likes to use the power of sadism, right? Like he likes to make people do things for him.
Yes.
More than just he doesn't actually do the violence to people. No. If he needs violence done, he has people do it for him. But what
Although
he does,
he does
he
kind
does
of
shoot Tony
crossbow
Soprano.
a few people here,
He
just
Tony
for funsies.
Yeah, he definitely kills Tony Soprano with a crossbow. But
but you're right. It's really much more about like, how can I manipulate other people, and also how can I manipulate other people in front of an audience.
that's it. Yeah, to show off his power. And what he does here is he turns to some nobleman. He was like, he's like, Luigi, you're such a pig. Act like a pig. And he starts acting like a pig. And he was like, oh, you're such a worm. Act like a worm. You're a woman. You're a jackass. And and so he just gets, and everyone is like loving this shit.
Party game.
This is such theater kid party game.
Yeah. They're like, I don't know. Can you imagine if this just like, let's play animals?
Mm-hmm.
And that must have been real. Listen, they're walled into a castle surrounded by the Red Death.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? I don't know. Start pretending you're animals. Why not?
Might as well. So we have Francesca is now Lady Francesca because she's been cleaned up and tidied, and she's wearing a beautiful gown, and
her hair is done.
Mm-hmm.
That is a wig. Full wig.
So Prospero takes Francesca to the Yellow Room. Like if you've read the original Poe short story, you probably remember most notably that it's a series of rooms all of different colors.
Yeah.
And he takes her to the Yellow Room. This beautiful, everything in the room is yellow. And he has, I think, the best line in this movie is when he shows her the Yellow Room. He says, "My father imprisoned a friend of his in this room for 3 years." And I love that line. It's
right?
So good. A friend of his imprisoned friend of his.
Who was your father? What the fuck? Like, one, why does he have an entirely yellow room?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, why did he imprison a friend of his in this room for 3 years?
It's the best in like comedy and horror both like thrive on implications, like letting the audience or the listener or the viewer sort of assume something that you're not saying. And I think this line is so good. The one thread that they sort of follow with why the father did this, because he says, when the man was released, he couldn't ever look at the sun, let alone a daffodil, meaning the yellow made him insane. To where anything yellow would make him insane. And Prospero talks a little bit about experimenting on people.
Yep.
Because
the family history of my family has been trying to commune with Satan these many generations.
Yeah, and they're trying to discover the portal that separates us from our creator. Our creator knows everything about us. We want to learn what the creator knows about us. So how can we control like the creator? How can we be like the creator? And this is where Francesca's like, oh, it's not for you to know about God. And he's like, God?
Who said anything about God?
He's made Francesca, by the way, take off her cross while she's in the castle. Because he's trying to instruct, not corrupt, these innocents.
He's tacky.
That's right. It's tacky. And also he wants to break everyone who comes there because they all have to join.
Like, what do you love? How can I use that against you?
Yeah.
How can I use that as leverage to get, to like drain the life from your eyes?
This movie's so silly in this regard because it's so 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s too. Let me back that up. This movie is so silly because it's so 60s and its obsession with Satanism.
Yeah.
That transcends many decades, but the story itself is about the wealthy elite abusing the common people. Like that is the utmost of evil. It's high up there if you're going to list evil qualities. So if you want to see people get their comeuppance, that's a pretty good set of people that should get their comeuppance. And I like that this movie puts a hat on a hat to be like, no, it's because they love Satan. That's it.
Oh, it's Satan. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. No, it's so true. Like I mean, kind of what we know about the satanic panic. It's very much like, no, we've already taken something that had a perfectly good shelf life, but we're literally going to put like the Satan cherry on top of it. Be like, no, it's Satan. Oh, it's Satan doing all this thing. Or is it just a bunch of rich people that want to have a party and be isolationist in their in their economic policies?
Yep. Okay, so Juliana tells Prospero that she is ready to give up her faith. She wants to be in the club. She's fully broken in, right? Like,
put me in, coach. I'm ready. I
love
am
this.
ready to worship Satan 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, full time. Ready. Where's my 401k? I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because it's so clearly because she sees Francesca as a threat to her love of Prospero. So she's like, I'm going to get in now.
It's also like, what has Satan done for you, man? Like,
No.
what? I don't. This is the thing where like this whole like Satanist read on this classic tale. I'm like, what exactly is Satan doing for you guys?
Yeah.
Because all I'm seeing is some light chanting. Some cool goblets.
Yeah.
And some self-mutilation. But that's about it.
Sometimes...
normally people like, you worship Satan in other films. You get like, you can fly, or destroy your enemies.
You get immortality. You
get
I mean, I think what puts it over the edge for them is I think you get like a weekly 12-year-old dance recital, and that's fun.
Is that it?
In the day and age before Hulu, this is really
you just get
exciting.
some sugar plum fairies just sort of like dance on the screen there.
Okay, so let's see here. We've got Francesca is woken up in the middle of the night. This movie, by the way, it has the in terms of horror devices, the two things it does the most are just like blood on something.
Yep.
And two, just cheap jump scares.
Oh, yes.
It's full of cheap jump scares, none of which I think are effective, but they're fun.
They're fun. They're not scary.
No.
Like this is like pretty palatable. I was gonna say the other thing that they do is day for night poorly. Like Francesca, she is wandering around. She hears a rattle at the door and she gets her candle. It is bright as motherfucking day inside this room.
Yeah.
I love it. I love, it's so, God, where was I watching? I was watching some movie the other day that came out like last year. Something like Sinister 3 or something like that. And, we've talked about this on the show, how movies are trending so dark, like just pure darkness.
Yeah.
And if you see even like two little glints of eyes, we're like, oh my God, there's something on the screen. The 60s was the opposite.
Yeah.
It is bright as day. There's but it's so lush.
Yeah.
And like there's backdrops and set pieces. And yes, it is 12 o'clock noon. And we're going to pretend it is 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But it is filled with color and light that evokes nighttime rather than looks like nighttime.
Yeah, I agree. All they've done, you just take your standard studio lighting, and what you do is you put a light blue filter on it.
That's it. And everybody goes, oh, it must be nighttime.
That's right.
Why if it wasn't nighttime, why would she be in bed?
That's right. An azure gel on the lights, and we're good. And it's it makes it feel like night, and it's great. I love it. So, all right. We also, here's where now we get to Chekhov's Falcon.
Oh,
because
God, fuck me up, this Falcon.
We
also with the Falcon is brilliant.
Well,
we get a few jump scares. Well, before we get to the Falcon, Juliana has to discover what is in the inner sanctum of the Black Room, Jeffrey.
That's right, because when she gets woken up, she goes wandering through the house, and we see kind of the cuts of some of the rooms. And earlier in the yellow room, she had wanted to go in and see this other room. He's like, no, that's not for the uninvited.
Purple, white, but don't go in the Black Room.
That's right. And
that's
sneaks
where I keep all my sex toys.
That's right. She sneaks into the Black Room, and she sees Juliana sitting there lit in red, and there's Prospero lying
just some light chanting. Just some light chanting there.
He's laying in a coffin, I guess. I don't know. It's very vampiric.
Yeah, he looks dead. Love, sort of dead-ish,
Yeah. There's a crow just cawing in the corner, just maybe
left
it's a
over
raven
from the other Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna be the raven. Yeah. So I love this. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is such a funny moment where she leans down. Francesca leans down over Prospero's face where his eyes are closed, and she gently touches his face, and his eyes shoot open. Francesca screams and goes running. I'm like, what? Why did you touch it? Why did you wake him up? Did you not think that would happen?
Yeah. It's wild. It's so spoopy doopy. It's also just like, I don't know, just the shot of Juliana, just like, also Juliana is just sort of like sitting there chanting away,
vibing,
sort of in a trance, I guess.
Vibing.
She's vibing. Is that it? Is that what the kids refer to as vibing?
That's it. The kids say that constantly. That's all they say. So the Falcon is just classic. This is such mid-century story writing, mid-20th century story writing, where everything is sort of a metaphor for the bigger picture. And he says, falcons, the way we train falcons, Francesca, is they are temporarily blinded by sewing their eyes shut so they cannot see, and that they are then until they can learn to trust their master.
We break their spirits.
We break their spirits until they are one with the master.
No, wait, hold up here. You sew their eyes I have questions. I have follow-up questions. Like, does that heal back? How do you get the stitches out of a falcon's eye? And why am I even asking this question?
Yeah.
This sounds far-fetched.
I didn't look this up. It seems a little ridiculous. I think the mask is what you do, is you just keep the little, you put that little football helmet on them.
Because they're going to like go after anything they see. It's like they're visually, they're visual hunters, right?
Yeah.
And he's saying this like, anyway, Prince Prospero, you crazy. You've got way too much time on your hands.
He also, this is where he says, my master that programmed me like I programmed the Falcon my master is Satan, Lord of Flies, the Prince of Darkness, the devil. She's like, I get it.
Yeah. I do love how he goes, the devil, like whispers it. Prince of Darkness, Lord of Flies, the devil. Again,
so good.
Fucking slow clap. It's so spooky story your English teacher told you in elementary school, kind of spooky. So now is when Scarlatti comes to beg to be let into the castle because the Red Death is spreading. And Prospero's like, that tough titties, man. And Scarlatti's like, here, you can have my wife, use her for whatever you want. And you know what? Shocker, he's like, I already done been there.
Yes. He says, I've already had that doubtful pleasure. And I'm like, ew.
Yikes. Burn.
God, Scarlatti gets fucking dunked.
Yeah.
And he was like, please, in the name of friendship. And he says,
friendship.
Sure. Oh, actually, you know what? He doesn't. Prospero actually tells his soldier, he's like, shoot him in the neck with an arrow.
Yes.
And then
for friends, because we're friends, right?
And then he throws a knife down to the wife, and it's like, kill yourself.
Yeah.
That's how you will get out of the Red Death.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the prison guard and Gino in a sword
this whole
fight.
Spartacus. This whole Spartacus, like, we're gonna break your spirit, Spartacus. And Spartacus is like, I am Spartacus.
And blah, 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 blah.
Like, good is so boring. The good characters are always so boring in these movies.
They really are. So, yeah, this like Gino thread, it just kind of doesn't really do much in, he's the lover of Francesca. It's more just like your classic love story, like the good guy and the maiden, but he ultimately really doesn't ever do anything productive at all.
Although we get to have a fun Russian roulette scene later with him. We do.
Yeah, that's very good.
I mean, like, really, it's like he is the meat that Prospero is dangling over Francesca to keep her either in line or aligned with whatever he wants her to do. Because if he just kills her dad and her lover, then she's just kind of sad and dead inside. Yeah. Versus, like, it's like you have to, like, he has to see her in yearning in order to really get the Satan-y juices flowing.
So a couple little side bits here. We've got Juliana is so excited about getting into the club that she does her like little prayer, and then
she love her.
She brands her titty with an upside down cross
while chanting. Like, come on, get it, girl.
Yeah. She's
amazing.
It's Rush Week, Cecil.
It is totally Rush Week. She's like, oh, Padme, Padme, oh.
So good. Also, we have Hoptoad talking to Alfredo. He is very clearly manipulating Alfredo.
He's like, I don't know, what if you came as, I don't know, a gorilla? Wouldn't that be just a lark? It would be so funny if seeing you, a powerful man like you, dressed as a gorilla. We're just going to put it. Look, I've got this. This is another thing. There's like, I found a costume in the room of stuffed animals. Another toy that Prince Prospero hasn't played with in a while. I was like, did he go through a stuffed animal phase? For a while, as opposed to like having orgies and like worshiping Satan, he was really into, like, I don't know, like collecting rare animals and stuffing them,
I guess.
Which is another classic kind of evil rich guy trope. The sort of the hunter, the most dangerous game kind of hunter. It's like, I've hunted every kind of game there is because I'm so wealthy and I'm so bored and everything is shit. I must, like, hunt people.
I guess.
But just that one sentence, I was like, can we see the Hoptoad?
Yeah.
Like, can we get, the like Peter Dinklage Hoptoad spinoff, HBO spinoff here?
Juliana and Francesca have another meetup late at night at noon. In the middle of the night, which is 12:30.
They're like, they've got candles, and they're like, it's so dark. Is that you? They're like, I'm standing literally right in front of you.
And I love this because this is where Francesca sees the upside down cross burned onto Francesca's breast, and she's like, "What happened? What is that?" And Juliana's like, "I did it myself."
I know. Do you like this tattoo? I did it after third period with
you did that yourself? I did.
Really?
I thought professional.
Oh God, the way it's sort of crooked and it's still it appears to be molting or scarring over. I never would have known. Maybe you should put some Aquaphor on that.
Yeah. Some Bactine at least. Jesus.
But listen, it's totally fucking worth it. Oh, okay. So plot point, sorry to interrupt the plot points to talk about Juliana's shit tattoo or shit branding. Is that she's like, I went in, I did my light chanting, I talked to Satan for the first time, made the call, and it's wild. He wants me to free you.
Yeah.
Here's the key to your lover's thing. I know I'm doing a good thing. Listen, Satan works in mysterious ways. What can I say? And Francesca, God bless her. This is, like good is always so dumb. There's just like, oh, you're giving, well, gosh, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. And Juliana is clearly like, she's just wanting to ride Prospero's dick, right? Like her whole thing is she's confusing worshiping Satan with just wanting this man to acknowledge her.
Right.
And she wants this other woman out of the picture.
Or she wants actual power. She wants the power of the same power as Prospero.
You're right. Yes. And
because
she can't do that.
I think this is a pretty common. Do you remember, like, what was it, like, I don't know, Witch Wives? I don't know if I can remember the really horny 60s Satan-y one,
that Virgin Witch or whatever.
Virgin Witch.
Yeah.
It is that, like, there's always that power dynamic of, like, Satanists all want the most power.
Yeah.
But only one person can have the most power. So it then becomes a power struggle. Who can get the most power? Like, who's going to sit at the top of the pyramid? This seems to be a common theme.
Yeah.
In this world.
Totally. So Francesca's off to the dungeon in her amazing cloak.
Sneaking her, just Valerie and her Week of Wonders. This is not, but close.
Very close. Again, this is like your neighborhood, your neighborhood, like, garage based haunted house scene where she walks past a man in a torture chamber, one that's covered in blood.
But it's so dumb, Jeffrey. There's like men like tied to table, like in stress positions, like tied to a table, like handcuffs from the ceiling, but also like they're handcuffed and then they're behind bars as well. As like, I don't think they're going anywhere.
No.
And also I love Francesca is literally, like, in my mind, as you needed the record scratch soundtrack. In my mind, this is the noise she's making the entire time. Sneak, 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 sneak. Shh. Like, it is merry melody all the way.
Yeah, it's so silly. Well,
but we do get a jump scare. There's, oh no, she gets scared by it. She gets like Clarice Starlinged in the third cage there. By Miggs.
Yeah. I would love if that scene were in here. That'd be amazing. So she springs Dad and Gino out of Hawk. I love that, like, these two boys just get their own cell with each other as opposed to like being tied up on a rack like everyone else.
Well, they did kind of, I mean, like, the Spartacus scene, they did kind of prove that, Gino's in the prime of his life. And he is I love it. Francesca's like, oh no, he's never fought before. And Prince Prospero's like, well, he seems to be doing all right.
Yeah.
Well, again, this idea of, like, the Satanist is always looking to, like, find the 7 deadly sins that are, like, underlying in your life. So, like, clearly Gino has, like, anger issues that he has not worked through.
Yeah.
And so let's exploit those for Satan.
Totally. Okay, so now the guards are just busy playing Uno, and
they're totally playing.
But one
Uno.
of them's like, I hear something, and so they run out to stop them, get into a sword fight.
This fight sequence is so cheesy and delicious.
I didn't even realize they, like, killed those guards until later.
I know.
Prospero's like, well, you killed 3 of my men, and I'm like, did they?
Did you? Did you?
It looks
because
like he
all
just
I saw
pushed
was
him over.
Like, it's musical theater level of violence. So if you can handle the musical of Oklahoma, you could probably handle this movie.
Yes. So they think they're on their way out, but then they are stopped by Prospero and his soldiers. And Francesca's like, Juliana betrayed us. He was like, no, she betrayed me. So now, since 3 of my soldiers are dead, at least one of your men must pay for these sins.
Which, I mean, like, come on, classic plot twist.
Yeah.
And also, I love, listen, Juliana is by far my favorite character. I mean, behind Vincent Price, but like, I
Sure.
love Juliana as a character. And the payoff is worth it for the red rose she keeps on her above her Satan's mark. The next scene.
Well, we're now down for the entertainment of the evening. We're gonna kick off. It's the dinner before the midnight masquerade.
It's midnight masquerade Mass Eve.
Uh-huh.
That does not. We need to work on the branding of this.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Prince Prospero.
So he's got Dad and Gino in front of him at the table, and he's got 5 daggers, and he says,
"I love this setup.
One of them is poisoned with a poison that will kill you within 5 seconds, and you will take turns drawing the dagger and cutting your own arm." Okay.
And it's also just like the way it's shot really low from the table, and he's like throwing, like, we don't know what he's doing yet, but he's just sort of throwing the daggers at the table. It's like just so deliciously, maleficently evil, like ghoulishly pleasurable, silly, evil.
So it's like Dad cuts his arm first. They count to 5. He's fine. Gino does it. He's fine. Then Dad, then Gino. But Gino is like, no, fuck this shit. And he's got the 4th dagger and he refuses to cut himself. He just throws it into the ground. And then Dad reaches for the 5th dagger, presumably to attack Prospero, but Prospero stabs him instead.
Yep. He's like, the game wasn't being played properly.
You will
literally
both
is what
die.
He says.
I don't understand Prospero's plan here, because he's like, you will both die. I will kill you now, Gino. And Gino's like, listen, I will. That's fine, because I will meet my lord, and that will be great. And he's like, oh, a martyr. Well, then I'll just set you free. Ha ha ha. You didn't expect that, did you?
What? And you're like, what the? Did it really? Did he just double reverse Prince Prospero to be like, well, I'm a Christian, so
yeah,
life is really letting me live is really the worst thing you could do.
I mean, to be fair to Prospero, I think
it worked.
To be fair to Prospero, I think his idea was the Red Death is raging outside. Like, this is his hubris. He believes the castle protects him from the Red Death.
Yes.
And that anything outside of the castle, you will die of the Red Death. So actually, you will experience the most painful death.
Yes.
By getting the plague. Which outside.
Why, like, I feel like this movie could have actually maybe taken a few scenes away from people pretending to be pigs and worms and, having Playboy lusty manner kind of times, and maybe invested a little more time in the like horribleness of the Red Death. Because besides that one old lady at the very beginning screaming for no apparent reason other than she dropped some red food coloring on her body, like, we don't get, like, it's all very much implied.
Yeah.
But this idea that, like, please, to be tortured inside the castle is better than to die the long, lingering, painful death of the Red Death.
Yes.
But even still, Gino's like, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah.
I would rather, like, Red Death me up, spit in my mouth, because this dude, I'm out. I'm done with him.
So now Prospero's like, all right, dinner's over. Everyone go back to your rooms. Don't come out till midnight. And then when you come out dressed up in your masquerade outfit. Obviously, no red. No one is to wear red.
Yes,
because
Daddy.
that's too much to bear.
Oh,
so
we cannot look upon the color red. Yes, we cannot even look upon the color red.
And then I love that Juliana is like running up to Prospero, being like, "My prince, I am ready." And he's like,
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
Is this when he does her in? Because I
Not
don't think
yet.
she makes it to the party.
We have a couple of like
party.
No, so we've got a couple like little side scenes where, Alfredo gets in his ape suit. Gino is out in the moors, and he runs into the red cloaked man who gives him a tarot card that means mankind. And
which
then
is judgment, which is very much like, oh, okay,
uh-huh.
here we go. That's a weird one to pull.
And then this is where Juliana this is my favorite scene of this film. Juliana drinks some trippy ass wine
Oh yeah, she
and then
does.
goes into gauzy green dreams about
Oh, that's right.
all these. She's like she's in like a fully like what is that material, like it's not tulle, but it's like the
Yeah,
sheer nightgown sort of thing
yeah,
running through other sheer curtains.
with
And then
the smoke everywhere.
mhm,
And then all of a sudden she's like tied to a table.
I don't even think she's tied to it. I
No,
think she's just
she's just on a
on the table.
sacrificial table. And then
There's
it is all I could think of is
mhm.
this is the It's a Small World ride of sadism.
It's
Because it's like an Inca warrior, like a South American warrior comes
uh-huh,
up like in a literal dream ballet,
uh-huh,
comes dancing up to her and like stabs her, and it's her face, and she is scream queening
yes.
in that way that it's like, is she screaming in pain, in ecstasy? Question a bit of both of them.
Who knows?
I think the filmmakers were like, yeah, it's just make some faces, girl.
Yeah.
Hazel Court is the actress who does it, and she pulls it off masterfully.
Oh, I love Hazel Court in this. So good. And it's all the series of men in like different types of
Like kind of like Chinese imperial.
somebody's kind of like crazy Rasputin looking with a
Yeah, yeah.
sickle and like
You've got like a Zulu warrior kind of thing, so like it you know, it's maybe not the most sensitive instrument we're using here,
no,
but it's
it doesn't
wet
feel
and wild.
it's so good. And like I don't know, it's just all these like kind of like it's very like Agnes DeMille George Balanchine style, like early modern dance stuff where you're kind of miming out a sacrifice on a table or something. Right? I just wrote fucking dream death ballet on my notes, and it's
dream
so
ballet
great,
interspersed with Juliana just being like, just going
well, she wakes back up into reality and she's like, my master, my Satan. And she starts running through all of the rooms, the black room, the white room, the purple room, the yellow, blah, blah, blah. And she is saying, like, I believe that I am in the devil's favor, that in fact, my devil's favor may be stronger than his favor for Prospero.
Uh-oh.
And she enters the main hall and she says, such a good line. I have tasted the beauties of terror. Which goes back to Prospero's earlier line of like, what do you know of terror?
Yes, and only certain few people will ever get to experience true terror. Most people only ever experience pain, but only few people get to experience terror.
It's so spoopy. And this is when we get Chekhov's
and then
Falcon returns.
Fucking bird in your face. From nowhere. Bird in your face.
Thrown like a football right into her head.
You thought you were having a good day. You were wrong. You got a bird in your face. You got bird faced. It's the latest trend on TikTok. Bird facing people throwing birds in their face.
I audibly
take the bird face challenge
at this moment. I made a noise when this happened.
I like, my mind was still reeling from the It's a Small World dream ballet.
Yeah.
So like it is delightfully shocking.
It's the
when
best,
she gets bird faced.
It's the best scene in this movie because we go from dream ballet to bird thrown right into her face. She falls to the floor, and then the satanic cherry on top of the sundae, to use your term, Cecil, is everyone kind of, it's record scratch moment too.
Totally. Oh yeah, she's in public.
Yeah.
It's not in private.
No. And all these people watch her get her face ripped off by a fucking bird. She falls to the floor, all bloody, record scratch. Everyone gathers around. One other woman screams, and Prospero just saunters over to her and he says, I beg you, do not mourn, Juliana. We should celebrate. She has just married a friend of mine.
Oh, bitch.
God
Who
damn.
are you, P. Diddy? What is this? Where am I?
Oh my God. This is like, I just thought of like Street Fighter. Like you just hit like a 10x combo here of just bam, 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 bam.
Yeah,
and then you nailed it.
And like spine pulled right out.
Oh, God damn.
Total fatality.
Oh, I fucking loved that.
I mean, like, where can this movie possibly go from here, Jeffrey?
No. Well,
we have a blood ballet we have to get to is where we gotta go.
They don't just give us one dream ballet. We get two.
No.
Get two.
I mean, okay. Listen, say what you like. I know we're all like super sophisticated these days, but like back in the day, more was more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was maybe a little cheesy and maybe a little blindsided, but why have one dream ballet when you can have multiple dream ballets about the red death of Satan, something.
It's I almost did my intro on the Coen Brothers movie Hail Caesar because I was thinking about one of the best probably the best moment for me in that film is they do the classic like 1950s Hollywood musical of Channing Tatum and all these other men dressed as classic sailors tap dancing across the room and on the bar, and it's the thing where you think when you have a talent like a dance talent and a charisma talent like Channing Tatum, or as our friend Jen Levitt refers to him as Charming Potato, he is. You're like, why are we not making this movie? And when I see a dream ballet like this, I'm like, we don't have to bring back the dream ballet as a thing. It doesn't need to be a fad. I want somebody
beg to differ.
Well, sure. I would like it to be. I'm just not insisting that it has to be a regular feature. Yes. But I just think we're really missing things. We dig back into the past constantly to find old devices. Like, somebody bring this shit back because it's so good. But before we get to Second Dream Ballet, we're going to get to the villagers are all marching back to the castle because they want to beg for forgiveness so they can be let in to avoid the Red Death because it is apparently
there's only like
so bad.
Of them there's like 6 of them left. They're like, we're it, man. We just put all these bodies onto a cart. It's just me and her and him and her. Please.
I like that Gino is it's just absolutely not understanding the situation. He's like, no, don't debase yourself. And he's like, no, we just lost 95% of the population of our town. We're the only ones left. So we are happy to debase ourselves. It's the only hope we really have.
They're like, bring out the Benoit, bring out the anal beads and the feathers.
I will pretend to be like, a pig.
Whatever. Like,
you can ride my jackass to market all you want.
Yeah.
And Gino then sees there's one little girl in the group, and he just like picks her up, being like, "Here, I'll save you." And this one dude's like, "Hey, by the way, that's my daughter. Please put her down. Thank you."
So awkward. It's like, that's my daughter. Can we not abduct because I'm gonna go sell her to slavery. And she's probably going to buy me like a turkey leg once I get inside. So
she's worth a lot.
Because I heard about this other ballerina girl that's, living the high life. So
Prospero tells the archers, like, you know what? Just kill them all except the child. And they crossbow them all to death except the child. Then Prospero's immediately back in the party, just throwing jewels onto the dance floor.
I love this. But while fully having a different conversation is really what gets me. Like, he's talking because Francesca has now assumed, like, her essence in Fraggle terms or in Dark Crystal terms is fully been drained.
Mm-hmm.
Like Prince Prospero has said he's going to release Gino and he has, but Francesca has traded that in for her body, so she is full like shell of a princess here.
She's given herself up to him in order to save Gino's life. I'm like, how long have y'all been dating? Because you didn't even know he could fight with a sword.
Yeah.
So Gino is climbing.
Admittedly, there's only 3 people in their village.
That's
so
true.
it's
That's
like,
true.
he's the prettiest in her village.
He definitely is the cutest, and he does seem nice. So Gino is climbing the castle walls, and I love that he's like got this big rope. He gets all the way up the castle walls. He's like, I'm gonna save my girl, and then there is the Red Death standing there, and he's like, you know what? I got this. Why don't you just wait here? At 1 a.m., I'll bring you your girl.
Yeah. I also love that it's like, I mean, this is straight up like Adam West Batman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when they would do the gag of like walking, like walking up the fucking side of the thing. Like they literally do the Batman gag. Walking up the side of the building, which tickled me to no end. But I do love and I do love the Red Death. The Red Death is such an interesting character to me. Like I love any movie that includes like neutral, you know, death as a neutral as opposed to bad.
Yeah.
You know, Satan is bad.
Yeah.
Jesus is good, but death is always kind of the fulcrum. And I think the movie does a pretty good job here of just like, oh no. But even death has its proclivities. Like, man, I see you working really hard to get your girlfriend back. You just sit tight. I got this.
Yeah.
This dude's been on my list for a while. All right. Let me handle this. You'll be fine by morning.
So Hoptoad and Esmeralda are together, and this is where we learn that Esmeralda has Lord McCall's voice or whatever, which is, it's so very shocking to see like a 10-year-old girl talking like a 40-year-old woman. Is like very
a chorus
weird.
Girl from the 1930s.
Oh my God. Anyways, Hoptoad is like, listen, we're getting out of here. Tonight's the night. We're busting out. The game is almost over. Just sit tight. I got a plan. And this is where the ape appears at the ball. Hoptoad is pretending to be his zookeeper type trainer.
Yeah, it's like, I will, which I mean, great. Like again, we're playing, it's also like BDSM horny of like power dynamics of like, oh, he's so strong, but I can control him. You know, like I'm the one who can control all this power. Which of you ladies wants to experience the power? Like he's like a vibrator salesman or something.
Yeah, he basically, the one woman and Alfredo in the ape suit kind of like, you know, he like ravishes the woman and they're on the floor. And this is when Hoptoad lowers the chandelier to just inches above them, runs out there, and he's like, I will tie the ape up. I will subdue the ape. And he ties him to the chandelier.
Classic King Kong shenanigans.
Raises the chandelier up, climbs on top of a table, and douses him in brandy and sets him on fire. Record scratch. Everyone's like,
record scratch. And yet I love Prince Prospero's like, oh, Hoptoad seems to be up to his shenanigans again.
He just says, clean that mess up.
Alfredo fucked around and found out.
Yeah, Prospero's like, oh, somebody clean up that mess and give Hoptoad 5 gold coins for his entertaining jest.
I mean, if honestly, you know, that's the whole thing about like the appealing, like what is so delightfully appealing about the source material of like, throw a party worthy of the end of the world.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're not going to kill your enemies at the party at the end of the world, are you really living?
Yeah.
Like, this is the time. If there's that dude who's been picking on you and your beautiful daughter, lover, Esmeralda, whoever, Ward, I don't fucking know what their relationship is. But like, if now's the time, man.
Yeah. So Alfredo's gone. And now we've got this party. Prospero's like, it's just getting started. What a good beginning. But then he sees a man wearing red. I said no one is to wear red to my Red Death party. So he he grabs Francesca and they follow him through the crowd, through the colorful rooms.
I love it.
Command you to wait.
Yes. And it's very much like, like he'll be walking through the background and they'll have to, I don't know, it's like lots of cuts that are, I don't know, pretty cool.
Just I agree.
Moving through the crowds here.
And the couple of scenes we get of going from room to room is really, really cool. It's a really neat set. But they meet in the black room with the red window. And he's like, I know you, don't I? I want to see your face. He's like, well, to see the face of death is to die.
Yeah.
And he's like, you must be Mario. I know you from somewhere, Italian name. And
huh? No. No.
And then it seems that Prospero becomes convinced that this man in red is Satan himself.
Yes.
You are my lord. You have come for us. I'm so excited to meet you. Huge fan.
Huge fan of your work.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
And he says, I would like to see your face. And the man in red says, there is no face of death until you see your own death. And they walk back into the party, and Prospero, I think it's Prospero, it says, is it the man in red who says, it's time for the dance of death.
Yeah.
And he holds up his cloak over this one couple, and when he sets it back down, they are covered in blood.
Bloody red death.
He does
Which again doesn't look necessarily painful, it just looks moist.
Yeah, everyone looks waxy, red waxy.
Like they just look sweaty. Like they look like they've been inside a sauna.
Yeah.
But a blood sauna.
That's right. Raspberry
Which is
sauna.
also the name of my short story memoirs that I will be releasing later this month.
Everyone becomes blood sauna'd, and they're all doing this huge, they're doing contact improv is what they're doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's amazing. And Prospero is kind of like twirling about in it, like, I've been swept up in a sea of moving dancers.
And it's just like hands all over, like red arms and hands, like, all over his body. Very conceptual.
He also, Prospero says to Red Death, he says, in all my life, I've never met a woman whose faith rivaled mine. So save her, save Francesca. She never bowed fully to me. I'm like, she kind of did.
Yeah, she really did.
I don't know, that her faith was that strong. He was like, take off your cross necklace. She's like, okay.
I think it's more of like her boobs and her hair that you're thinking about there.
Yeah.
I think really that's really what you're kind of what you're into.
And I like that Red Death is like, sure, that was the plan all along. Yeah, go.
I know. See, Death knows.
Uh-huh.
And Death even was like, around 1 a.m. I'll get her out to you by 1.
Yep. He keeps calling, Prospero keeps calling the man in red, Your Excellency. He's like, why do you call me Excellency? I have no title. I have no master. Death has no master. Good point. Good point. Yeah.
That's it.
And then he says, Prospero's like, I want to see your face. And he's like, all right. Pulls off the mask, and it is Vincent Price.
Oh my record scratch.
Yeah.
Which it's like, honestly, it was pretty shocking. I expected skeleton face. So
okay, yeah.
I fully expected skeleton face.
The moment of your death. And Prospero's like, no. And everywhere he turns.
Just like everybody just kind of like sinks to the floor.
Yes, yeah.
in a very dancey sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
So like everybody dies?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Alvin Ailey, this is not. No. But we have the final dream ballet dance of death, and everyone falls dramatically, and Prospero is the last one left. And and Red Death tells Prospero, like, why shouldn't you die? Your soul has been dead for a long time. Snap.
Sick burn.
Uh-huh. So now we have our little epilogue here where Red Death is just playing tarot cards with the little girls that was saved earlier.
Yeah, I know, right? And she seems perfectly happy. She's like, oh, you're so funny, Death. I'm anthropomorphized. Neil Gaiman Death is the best.
This ending is so funny because
I don't, Jeffrey, you got to explain this to me because I don't know if I fever dreamed this ending or what the fuck happens here.
it's so like I'm trying to think of the term for this type of humor, but it's a form of like reductive humor. It's a form of like taking something so grandiose and bringing it down to earth, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Like in the 80s, like I was thinking of the early 80s movie, maybe late 70s, the George Burns film Oh God, where like
Okay, sure.
where George Burns is just God, right? Like
Yeah,
he comes down. We've
yeah,
done this several times where you take a
yeah,
grand concept and you make it superhuman. Neil Gaiman, right? You just brought up
yeah,
Neil Gaiman, like reducing a good omens, right? Like
yeah.
reducing these characters down to very human levels. And here what we have is this is the water cooler talk at the office of death.
Yes,
And it's because Black Death shows up and he's like, "Oh man, it's been a long fucking
I
day."
know, right? And
and
Yellow
and and
Death
Yellow
and
Death and White
White
Death show
Death.
up, and their White Death is like, I am tired. And Red
The,
Death is like, "Oh, tell me about it, girl."
the Middle Ages have been rough for us.
Yeah,
Can
and
we take a break? Can we invent penicillin or something?
and Red Death is like, "Listen, in my village, there's only 6 people left. I got this cute boy, this cute girl. I've got Hop Toad and his ballet girlfriend, and this little girl, and some other old man. That's it. That's all
That's
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 left."
that's the only ones left out of this movie that survive.
And everyone's like, "Oh, damn, you guys. Well, should we clock out for lunch?"
Just walk
It's
away.
and then it's the end.
That's it. What?
Qua- Uh, God damn, it was so funny. I had to like rewind that. I was like, did I just
Yeah.
see that?
This morning when I woke up, I because I watched these movies the night before, I woke up, I was like, how did this movie end? Because I don't remember it having an ending because the ending is so bananas.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, no, there was a parade of death.
Yeah.
Like not the red, like an actual parade of multicolored deaths.
Yeah.
Like death hanky code.
Uh what just chef's kiss. Just
I
mwah.
Brilliant.
It's so brilliant. Shall we rate this film?
Yes, let's.
How approachable is this movie if you are horror film averse, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like don't go near the movie, like Hostel, and 10 being like super approachable. I mean, listen, 10 out of 10 Mask of Red Death, 10 out of 10 hair braids and silk scarves. It's like it's fairy tale horror. Like I think the hardest stuff in the movie is the cruelty of Prospero and the kingdom, and like, but I don't know, like I think it's fun. It has a bunch of ineffective but delightful jump scares. It is really mild relative to like a more direct horror movie. There's blood, but it is like blood, right? It's
It is
60s.
even
It's
it like there's blood but no wounds, or
yeah,
like someone will just have like a little red scratch on them and they're like, oh, I'm cut, you
yeah.
know.
It's church haunted house level of scary. Like no one is going to touch you. They're just like, oh, look at this. Oh, stick your hand in this. It's eyeballs. You know, that sort of thing. So yeah, 10 out of 10. What a fucking delight. Good times. What about you, Cecil, as a horror film?
As a horror film, this is such a delightful mix of campy. It's not terribly scary, but it does have some spookiness to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it does have a little bit of philosophical spooky, sort of based on the source material. But really, you're just here for watch Vincent Price and these other amazing actors
Yeah.
take this material and just make it into a campy, fun time. So if you hate fun, you won't like this movie.
Oh,
Nine
right.
out of
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
9 out of 10 blood saunas.
Great. All right, let's figure out what we're going to watch next. You've got a scare die. I have a style die. We'll roll those up, see what movie matches those two things. So, Cecil, if you roll a 1, our next movie features a ghost. A 2 is a monster. 3, dolls or clowns. 4, a sadist. 5, animals. 6, institution is our scare.
That's a 6.
Institution. Okay, let's match your institution with the style I roll. If we roll a 1, Latin American horror. 2, something prior to the 1950s. Roll a 3. Sequel, prequel, or remake. 4, LGBTQ plus, something with LGBTQ characters. 5 is bloodless / psychological horror. 6 is WTF. What the fuck did I just watch? So let's see what we got here. 6. What the fuck?
Ooh, fun.
We got double 6 here. So let's talk about what we sort of thought matched these two things. And then we'll check our Letterboxd and see what folks had to say there too. What do we have on this list, Cecil?
Sorry, I'm pulling up the list right now.
Oh, sure.
Institution. Oh, Jesus, where are you? There we go. There we go. All right, I'm in it. What did we have on here? We have a couple things. A Clockwork Orange immediately came to mind.
Oh, of course. That is a big what the fuck did I just watch type of
quite
movie.
What the fuck, quite institution-y. And it's like institutions within institutions going what the fuck. Pretty intense. And it's also definitely kind of fits that like respectable horror. So definitely like lots of horrific characters doing horrific things, but in a way that, wins awards, I guess.
Yeah.
What else did we have? In the Mouth of Madness, which is a very 90s. Sam Neill is a Stephen King knockoff author, and his books start causing madness in people, and he gets sucked into that madness. So I guess the institution is the publishing industry there.
Yeah.
But this has got some of my favorite what the fuck moments in its like both mind-bendingness and also in like costume set dressing. Some of the special effects are just crazy bananas in this movie. We have the movie Smile, which is a pretty new one.
I threw this on here. I haven't seen Smile. I don't know what the fuck it is. I mean, it looks silly and goofy and creepy.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. It's a little bit flawed, but it's not. It's an all right ride.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it definitely has kind of like, this woman who is researching sort of trauma. She's a doctor and she's researching like these people that go through trauma and then die later. So it has this sort of institutional medical kind of vibe to it.
We've got Beyond the Black Rainbow, which I think you.
And then I just put this one on here. This one is almost. It's definitely a what the fuck, but more of the like psychological, subtle end of what the fuck rather than the, trauma end of what the fuck. It's like somebody is inside what appears to be some sort of wellness cult and is trying to escape.
Oh,
but
interesting.
This is definitely like a horror movie, like top 100 list because it's very subtle, very moody, and it's gorgeously shot.
Yeah, it looks really freaky.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's one of those where like it will not give you the answers that you are begging for.
Yeah.
And you love it for it.
It's a Canadian movie too, so Canadians they've done us right in the show.
So it's just filled with Tim Hortons.
That's right. It's Tim Horton is the institution.
Escape from the black Tim Hortons.
Okay, let's look at what Letterboxd has. User Martin says The Attic Expeditions 2001, partly set in a possibly haunted recovery center. And it's really insane with a bunch of bizarre plot twists.
Creepy.
Hellbound Hellraiser 2 is almost entirely in an asylum.
Yeah.
And then Martin also says, don't watch Smile, I hate it.
Yeah, like it's not the
yeah.
best movie you could ever see.
Okay, great.
You know what I'm saying?
We've already got some good ones ahead of it. Cronenberg TA throws out Tales from the Hood. Funeral director tells 4 strange tales of horror. One segment takes place in an institution involving experimental treatment.
Oh yeah, Tales from the Hood is a good kind of what the fuck. There are some good what the fuck moments in that one.
Weaponized Toaster throws out Cabin in the Woods is definitely WTF and institution.
Yeah, for sure.
Mother, they also throw out Mother.
Interesting.
I didn't think of this as institution.
I mean, unless you think of life as an institution.
That's true.
Sure, I'll buy it.
They also threw out the faculty.
But I love the faculty.
Yeah.
I mean, like this is it's maybe it's a yes. I think weaponized society were like it's a little what the fuck.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're like aliens.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You
Mhm.
know. But
And I mean,
definitely that sort of institution thing of like your teachers are right, you are wrong, unless your teachers are aliens.
interesting. Okay, so Ganymede's Cop gives us Bad Karma, 2001. Thinking that she's the reincarnated lover of Jack the Ripper and that her psychiatrist is the reincarnation of Jack himself. A mental patient breaks out
Oh,
of an
dear.
institute. Yeah. Diamond Dogs gives us The Perfection, 2018. Woman returns to her music school after leaving and forms a relationship with the new star pupil. Absolutely
Ooh.
insane film.
Okay.
Infinity Pool by
Yeah.
Tripetogenalis is the name of this user.
Tryptogenitals. Tryptogenalis.
I don't know Infinity Pool. This is a 2023 film.
Is this the Cronenberg son of Cronenberg? I
Might
can't
be.
remember. But
Might
it's Skarsgård.
Okay.
You know, it's very like mid-century modern, and he like accidentally commits a manslaughter, and it turns out everything is an institution. Kind of.
Okay.
It's a little bit like Don't Worry, Darling, kind of level of mindfuck.
This definitely sounds very Cronenberg Jr. That the wealthy tourists are able to make copies of themselves to suffer the death penalty if they do bad things.
You're like, okay, sure. Yeah, I don't know. Why wouldn't we?
I'm not going to get through all of these, so thank you all for all.
We've got a lot.
We've got a lot, so I'm just kind of like maybe we could hit a couple of highlights. Molly M gives us The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, I think that's great. You know, very much what the fuck. It has, you know, a mini. It's literally the beginning of the mini me. Let's see. I saw one that on here. We've got Shutter Island. Pretty what the fuck. Pretty institutional. Tiffany Irene put out Gothica, which is a 2003 movie.
Yeah.
That is like, I think, sort of a buried sort of fan favorite. So we got to shout out to that one.
I want to throw in for like to really try and get into the WTF, although maybe this isn't quite horror. Chrissy 410 gives us The Lobster. That's Yorgos Lanthimos. It is absolutely institution and absolutely what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah.
It's Yorgos Lanthimos, so it has very strong horror elements, but it's a little bit like in the realm that like maybe David Lynch, not quite David Lynch, but like as far as overlap with horror, it uses a lot of horror, but maybe peripheral to horror.
Yeah. I think more drama, more psychological drama though.
Psychological drama, but it's yeah.
Similar to Beyond the Black Rainbow, we've also got The Void from 2016, by Brave Crab. That's another sort of like escape from a cult movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep. And then also we've got a couple of other.
And then we'd be remiss. Oz Conway, thank you for bringing this here. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, because it's about not only is it the most what the fucky of the series, because these kids inside this sleep session like institution begin to learn to use their dreams, so it like has the kind of most dream play in it. And it also is very much relying on the like, once you're in a mental institution in the 80s, it's not good. You know, like there's like you're I don't know. I good one on there, Oz Conway.
I like that. So what's standing out to you of all these we have
so
here?
Much. There is so much. I don't know. There's so many. Like The Void, Beyond the Black Rainbow, In the Mouth of Madness is a great movie. Is it institution-y? I don't know. Is the writing like as like, I don't know, like the publishing industry is the institution, I guess. It's an awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
But
Elm Street 3 sounds really fascinating if we wanted to do something that's like classic, like if you're like
classic horror
movie fans have seen this movie, no question, right? Like if you identify as a horror movie fan, this is kind of on a must-watch list. Beyond the Black Rainbow looks really intriguing because it looks so what the fuck and cool. The Void, I'm not as familiar with, but that also sounds really intriguing. Clockwork Orange, as far as a classic film, is it horror? It's horrific.
It's horrific things happen. I don't know if we need to get there for this show
No.
per se.
Yeah.
Oh, and also like the Island of Dr. Moreau, I think is like literally the most what the fuck moment.
Dr. Moreau, and also there was a suggestion of Tales from the Hood, which is an interesting like anthology movie.
Have we got six? Have we got six on the? Because I noticed you're keeping track there.
We've
got five.
Tales
from the Hood. How about just because I'm kind of curious, Infinity Pool.
Instead of mouth of
now we have too many.
But we could take one of these out. It's like maybe not In the Mouth of Madness. Maybe that's not as institutional as some of the others.
Yeah. But I would say that's our 6, and we roll for it because we have quite a few what the fucks and a few institutions.
Okay, so you want to roll? You want me to roll?
I got it.
Okay. So if you roll a 1, Dr. Moreau. Roll a 2, Infinity Pool. 3, Elm Street 3. 4, Beyond the Black Rainbow. 5, The Void. 6, Tales from the Hood. What are we watching?
This is like the most diverse, like from the windows to the walls roll we got going on here. That's a 1.
We're gonna watch The Island of Dr. Moreau. Which version?
Oh, if it's available.
Well, which also there's we did a couple of versions, right? We're talking about the.
Well, I'm thinking it's the Marlon Brando.
Great. That's what I was assuming.
Clearly, that's the what the fuck. I mean, like, well, the other one is the Island of Lost Souls with like Charles Lawton, which is I've never seen actually. I'm really hoping we're getting to that on our like pre-1950s actually. But for the what the fuck factor, I want Marlon Brando in the white makeup with the mini-me and the animal people. Like, I want the whole experience.
And this is a 90s movie as well. So we don't get a lot of 90s films, so we're gonna get Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer, Fairuza Balk. We're going full 90s, baby.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, great. If y'all have thoughts on The Masque of the Red Death or ideas for other movies that would be good, institutional horror meets what the fuck did I just watch, let us know on Instagram at randomhorror9 or over on our Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you do not have to be a paying member to participate in those. So watch The Island of Dr. Moreau 1996 with us this weekend. Come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no one lighting your gorilla suit on fire or nothing. Boo.